A garbage election. Texas teacher cheating scandal may have put hundreds of unqualified teachers in the classrooms. Jeff Bezos decided that the Washington Post would not endorse for president. This is Dr. David E. Schein with a special edition of Saving America with our weekly update. A garbage election. I hate name calling. I do not care which party or politician does it. In this case, the Democrats had little to promote, so decided to engage in horrendous attacks using terms like fascist and calling Trump Hitler. This actually moved some votes into the GOP column. This backfired to people with an IQ higher than the temperature of cool water. It especially angered many Jewish people for obvious reasons. So much for the joy campaign, right? In a bitter irony, in the last days of the campaign, Steve Bannon was released from prison after serving 4 months for contempt of Congress. Democrats, going back to Obama administration, have not served a single day in prison. So who are the fascists in Washington? In Texas, the Democrats ran ads against Ted Cruz for his abortion views. The problem is that this is a federal race. That's right. Running for U.S. Senate is a federal race. Because of the Dodd decision, abortion is now state by state. Totally ridiculous position by the Cruz attackers. And my regular audience knows that I believe the Texas law is badly flawed when women with legitimate medical issues cannot get help inside the state. The life of the mother must always be paramount. That needs to be fixed at the state level, not in Washington. And Trump had a very successful rally in Madison Square Garden. For some reason, they had an unscreened comedian do a routine. And yes, he stupidly referred to Puerto Rico as an island of garbage. It was bad, and most GOP politicians distanced themselves from this remark immediately. In any event, good old Joe Biden makes a remark a couple days later referring to anyone supporting Trump as garbage. The Dems immediately tried to back it down, but the damage was already done. In the meantime, that bitter old biddy, the ultimate sore loser, Hillary Clinton, had to shoot her mouth off in a desperate attempt to sound relevant and sell copies of her useless book. Of course, this was on the Communist News Network, aka CNN. She compared the Trump rally to a rally by Nazi supporters in Madison Square Garden in 1939. However, she could indeed have compared the rally in Madison Square Garden to the 1933 rally by Jewish Americans concerned about the takeover of Germany by the Nazis. Trump referred to Harris as low IQ during the closing days of the election. She is indeed incompetent in her position as VP and was a terrible politician. None of this means she is actually stupid. In the general scheme of things, name calling instead of focusing on the issues usually is the mark of bad politicians, regardless of party affiliation. So yes, the 2024 elections will go down as the garbage elections. May we Americans all do better in the future. We deserve better. Jeff Bezos decided that the Washington Post wouldn't endorse for president. A major story in the last days of the far too long 2024 election cycle was that a few major newspapers decided to reverse path and not endorse. The one that earned the most press was when Jeff Bezos, a billionaire due to his Amazon company and owner of the pathetic far-left Washington Post, wrote an op-ed explaining that politics have gone too far in the newspaper business. Pardon me while I laugh my butt off, folks. The so-called major newspapers sold out to the far left decades ago. The only exception, sort of, is the Wall Street Journal. Subscriptions to print newspapers have been dropping ever since. For many people, even the time-honored tradition of reading the Sunday paper is gone. Of course, part of it is the march of technology. The other part is due to our misguided and failing education system. Reading and thinking are not really being taught. Commentators have noted that the bigwigs in technology who are famously against Trump began to quiet it down near the election when the winds of change began to move in his favor. None of them went as far as Elon Musk, but is still a fascinating movement. So Bezos, without admitting that the whack left views had killed his newspaper, did admit that politics are off the chart and nobody believes the newspapers today. He also made a monetary notation. Why endorse when it will not change the minds of the voters anyway? So endorsements alienate a big part of your audience. That translates into lost subscribers and lost advertisers. What I love is that two members of the Post editorial board reportedly quit when he did not let them endorse Harris. I will not believe Bezos got the message unless he replaces half of his editorial and reporting staffs with responsible right-wingers. How about people like Victor Davis Hanson and yours truly? Former Marine prosecuted in New York City for defending subway passengers from a crazed person with a long criminal record. I cannot make up this sad headline, but after all, it is New York City, once the star of America, now site of gangs running through famed Times Square. So you have Jordan Neely, who has previously committed violence in the subway system and has been arrested 40 times, causing mayhem in a subway car in May 2023. Penny encounters Neely on a New York City subway. Neely was acting erratically and threatening passengers. Witnesses have testified that Neely said, "Someone is going to die today." So Penny and two others restrained Neely until he settled down, maybe a little too settled, as the claim is that he died from compression to his neck. Prosecutors have charged Penny with a second-degree manslaughter and criminally negligent homicide. One take on this sad situation is that Neely is black and Penny is white. Question: if the skin colors were reversed, would this have even made the news at all? Is this equal justice? I believe in Texas we would have given Penny a medal. Texas teacher cheating scandal may have put hundreds of unqualified teachers in the classroom. This is a story that strikes home for me as a professor and a father of a high school teacher in another state. My university prepares students for certification exams. That is serious business. So the story here is that accused as the organizer of the scam was a basketball coach at Booker T. Washington High School here in Houston. He may have made as much as $1 million by charging persons afraid to take or unable to pass licensing exams to be teachers. The reported testing fee was $2,500 a shot. Outgoing Harris County DA Kim Ogg announced this prosecution, indicating that the scam dates back to 2020. For others, in addition to the coach, are accused of the scandal. Ogg stated, "The extent of this scheme will never be fully known, but we know that at least 400 tests were taken and at least 200 teachers falsely certified." In Texas, we have what are called independent school districts. Houston ISD is one of the largest systems in the country, not just the state of Texas. Those involved in the scam have been removed. I doubt they have been able to track down all the teachers who were improperly certified. Those with information have been urged to call Crime Stoppers. In a story from multiple sources, including Reuters, the U.S. approved a $2 billion arms sale to Taiwan. Included in the package are anti-missile defense systems that have been tested out in Ukraine fairly recently. Apparently, despite the protests from the CCP, Taiwan is entitled to get defensive weapons from the United States. As many of my audience know, my position is that the history documents that the only legitimate government of China is the one in Taiwan. So anytime the CCP wants to turn over operation of the mainland to the government of Taiwan, I'm prepared to support unification. However, I will never support it in the other direction. Communism has never worked throughout the world. Why impose it on our ally, Taiwan? The feds have been touting some amazing employment numbers in the months leading up to the election. At the same time, the real story does not support this on at least one level. As I have previously reported, store closings are at a sad level. The list has included Walgreens, CVS, Denny's, Conn's Appliance, Bed Bath & Beyond, Sears, Red Lobster, and I mentioned 7-Eleven fairly recently. Apparently, a new concept for 7-Eleven will be in about 600 locations by 2027. These will be larger and food-focused with a wider variety of food choices. On the flip side, TGI Fridays is closing another 49 locations, bringing the 2024 total to about 100. They have about 160 locations left. My favorite story of the fouled up 2024 election was the feds suing Virginia since Governor Youngkin had local election officials purge non-citizens, right, non-citizens from the voting rolls. Reportedly, there were 1,600 non-citizens removed in this latest purge. In a real commentary on which party has the best interest of Americans, the Dem-controlled Department of Injustice sued Virginia in federal district court to require those people to be put back on the voting list. So Virginia did the responsible thing and went to the Supreme Court. SCOTUS ruled 6-3 a week before the election that Virginia could hold off restoring the names to the voting list until a trial on the merits was held. Obviously, there was not going to be a trial prior to the election. This is Dr. David D. Schein for Saving America. Thanks for joining us, and please subscribe on your favorite platform.